To God be the glory forever and ever. Amen. The chairman of this very unique occasion, ladies and gentlemen, I want to appreciate the presentation by my lecturer, Professor Jibo, and the panelists. I appreciate your intellectual sagacity. I just want to quickly make this very short intervention that when I was growing up as a child, houses had no fences in Kano, even in the GRAs. What I'm trying to pull out is that the problem of this country, from the elucidation from every panelist up there, is because of the breakdown of value system. When I was growing up in Kano, houses had no fences even in the GRAs. But the value system became devalued. We started building fences. Growing up as a child, the only place I see fences is either a zoo or a prison yard. Gradually, the situation deteriorated. We started having tall fences. It further deteriorated. We started having broken bottles of minerals as barriers on our fences. It further deteriorated. We started having barbed wire. Today, it is electric fence. From the wear of dogs, we now have the wear of hyena, the wear of lions, showing how the entire society have become depleted. The Holy Book said, bring up a child in the way of the Lord, and when he grows up, he will not depart from it. It is our orientation from the family unit level that has completely broken down. And this have not been, it's not an advantage, because all our curriculum from primary school to university do not support system. If you see an American child at age 5, he can tell you about the dream of America. That's why when they are singing their national anthem when playing football, you see some of them crying. Because at a kindergarten level, you are taught nationalism. You are taught civic education. You are taught moral philosophy. Even as a child, you already know what it takes to be an American and what it takes to protect America. The only social orientation we have in our education curriculum is social studies. And what does it teach? It teaches you about Jaja of Okpobo, Awolowo of Western Nigeria, Azikiwe of Eastern Nigeria, and Sardauna of Northern Nigeria. And even as a child, you are already indoctrinated with ethnic consciousness. So we must go back. We cannot get it right, whether electoral, political, or economy, once we don't have the right attitude, the right values, and the right orientation. Nobody teaches you about Nigeria today. Today, history has been taken away from our curriculum in secondary school. It's no longer there. No more vocational studies. No more technical drawing. All the technical schools and colleges are down. These are primary values that we must go and resuscitate. No matter the grammar we speak here, no matter the policy direction we give, once we do not have the right attitude to manage whatever policy, manifesto, or ideology, we will not get there. So my advice is we need to go back to the basics. This attitudinal shift is the primary thing. Because if you don't even know your country, you don't even know how to divide your country. When I was growing up, there's no Hausa, there's no Yoruba. When it was Christmas, I can tell the streets, up to the 20th street after my street in Kano, we share rice, and during Salah, we also get tuwo shinkafa. Today, I don't even know who is my immediate neighbor in Metama. These are the value systems that we need to get back to. There is no Boko Haram or bandit today who no human being will pick up a gun and shoot a fellow human being if you're not under influence. Drugs have taken over all our young ones, and the attendant satanic manifestation is what we are getting. So let's get back to the basics, go back to family unit reorientation, then we start from there before we can get to all these big grammar level. Thank you and God bless you.
Then on democracy, I've had views that appear contradictory. We want to zone what? Zone the right to serve. It is your turn to do what? There are some implied self-interest in all of that. And the one real provocative question I want to make is that people must understand that to be a technocrat doesn't make you competent leader. The qualities of leadership don't flow from classroom. And I want to repeat that. And that is why sometimes in US, both Republican and Democrat, if you watch CNN at the eve of the elections, they will say they have challenges getting an electable material. To be electable is not necessary to be educated, to be a professor, to be a technocrat. There are other leadership abilities. And I think one of the things IBB taught us is that you can unite the country by going around the 36 states and FCT. You will find competent, able technocrat to manage different aspects of the Nigeria polity, society, and economy. You don't have to be president to contribute. And that is why if anybody can have a compendium of those who play different responsible roles, policy-making roles in Nigeria or the IBB, you will find that virtually all the 774 local government can point to somebody who was appointed on account of what value it can add. So I want to salute you for bringing this, for organizing this thing, because we don't really celebrate leaders until they are no more. It's nice to be celebrated when you are around. As a union man, we had a opportunity to interact with IBB, and there are a few things I learned. If he doesn't get an answer for you, he creates a platform to keep talking while he is taking care of the answer. So he's not elected, he's not bound to allow conversation. He can decree, as military always, I decree as follows. And it's a law. But the country was encouraged to debate and debate and debate. And to be honest, not to debate. We are all somehow guilty. So I want to appeal to the panelists, because when I listen to people talk about it, I spent all my life until I became a governor interrogating power, questioning some of the decisions. And one of the IBB legacies, I'm not sure I agree with it or I don't agree, but he was a thinker. He believed that government cannot continue to run everything and set up TCPC or whatever it was to do privatization of what can be privatized, and government hold on what it can do best. Every other government has taken with privatization, even though some did it in a manner that is absolutely embarrassing, like the way the distribution companies were handed over to people who know next to nothing. So families were had to handle. So they did the privatization, but not in the manner that it was conceptualized and as provided for in the enabling act that set up the privatization.
All right.
So, short man, short speech. I want to thank you for the opportunity. But I thought that
please put your hands together.
Knowing that IBB encourage people of diverse background. Other IBB's economic team, you have Professor Aboyade, a seasoned conservative.
Yeah.
There you have Izemiro, tech communist. And then you have, between the two extremes, you have the liberals. So you have engagement, not in terms of Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, in terms of policy choices. And I think the media, I'm happy two of you are there, channels and Arise.
Yes, sir.
You should also help. When people bring religion, shut it down and play up issues. Like you can notice, each time you ask, what is the solution? You don't get loud voices. What is the problem? Everybody shout it. We all know it. So when people come and ask you, where is this man from who wants to be governor? Where is this man from what? Tell them that is not what matters.
Thank you very much.
What matters is what will he do differently so that we stop lamenting and start moving forward. Stop agonizing and start organizing. Nigeria will go on. Now I'm not here to lament. We have a future. And my children must have a future.
And
it's a duty that we must perform.
I agree with Dino Melaye's submission, 100%, so I don't need to address it. Let me speak to His Excellency, former Governor Oshiomhole, on the matter of zoning. I want to make an important clarification. Everybody here knows that I have offered myself in the past and was a presidential candidate in the 2019 election. And even in the 2023 cycle, I also offered myself in the context of my political party, but did not get the ticket for reasons that my resignation letter from the political party stated very clearly, and which was what Dr. Babayo was referring to. And the reality is that many political parties, especially the smaller ones, that many of us had thought would be effective counterweights to the APC and the PDP, because we were not happy with what people saw as political corruption in APC and PDP, and so we decided to try alternative vehicles. I can tell you flat out that many of these parties are worse than the big parties we complain about. Let me explain. They are worse because Henry Kissinger once said that the reason that the politics of the academia is so vicious. Remember that Henry Kissinger was a professor at Harvard and then later became the National Security Advisor and Secretary of State of the United States. And so, reflecting on his time in academia, he said, the reason the politics of the academia is so vicious is precisely because the stakes are so small. Maybe people are fighting to death about who will become the head of department. Maybe people are fighting to death about who will control some research grant. Right? So, extrapolate this to the national political situation, and you will get what I'm saying. Many of these parties, not all, I'm not saying all, but many, they're not even serious about winning elections. Certainly not the presidential election. The reason some of them exist is simply to become trading platforms, either aligning with the big parties or taking money from candidates, but they're not serious about fielding competitive candidates for elections. They're just looking, yes, they're either surrogates or party officials are looking for who will bring money to them in order to get the ticket. And if you don't, they can bypass you and pick people that other people can objectively look at and say, was this really the best choice? Do you understand what I'm saying? So this is the point that I was trying to make concerning that particular issue about our democracy. Many of our political parties are not serious. They are not in this to win. It's a trading, it's a hustle for them. And so then, what makes them better than APC or PDP? We complain about APC and PDP. Yeah, 100 million naira form. It's a matter of scale. In some parties, the form may be 20 million or 15 million or 30, but the same issue is taking place. So, but that's by the way. Let me address the matter of zoning very briefly. And the reason I brought up my own experience is because I made it very clear that I'm not offering myself to be president of Nigeria based on where I come from. My politics was never ethnic. I was seeking to be president because of a vision that I have for this country. But that is not inconsistent with the matter of equity and social justice. I have finally landed. Now, this matter of equity and social justice, there was a study by Harvard University in 2002 called fractionalization. That study empirically proved that where there is a heterogeneous environment, the more heterogeneous it is, the more fractionalized the country is. And they showed by empirical study that Japan and the two Koreas are the two most homogeneous countries in the world. And that European countries were also highly homogeneous in their composition. But that African countries tended to be the most heterogeneous countries on earth. Empirically proved. And that is one of the reasons why in Africa there is a lot of division. And democracy can, if it is not very well managed, contribute to fractionalization. How do you solve that? you can develop a democracy that suits your own local environment. And that is where this zoning matter came up. You also have to look at the matter of constitutional restructuring. Because the only way you manage a big, diverse federal state is through a federal system. And that's why you see America, it's federalism, Australia, Canada, Germany, Brazil, India, so many countries that are big and also have heterogeneous populations tend to be federal states. But in Nigeria, we are running away from the matter of constitutional restructuring. Then we're not serious. So that's why we must come back to that matter, and then we must come back to the matter of zoning. In the matter of constitutional restructuring, we can look at, it's a debate, we can look at, should the presidency, for example, rotate across the 6 geopolitical zones? Switzerland is a confederation. The presidency rotates every 2 years to every one of the 26 cantons in Switzerland. Are you more developed than Switzerland, that recognizes the fact that there are French Swiss, there are Italian Swiss, there are German Swiss, and then you have the Romanced. So in Nigeria, we tend to, I don't believe in running away from issues.